Om Shanti. Welcome to Brahma Kumaris. So who's here for the first time? Can we see hands? Okay, so special welcome to you. And how many of you do not know what Brahma Kumaris is? Okay, so most of you are aware where you are. So Brahma Kumaris is a spiritual organization that is dedicated towards bringing self-transformation and so the world transformation. It is committed towards changing the perspective from material to spiritual. And today, we're here to discover a beautiful topic. What is it? Did you read the flyer? Can someone remind me? Healing heart and soul. So there are many things we're carrying in our heart. Some questions which are unanswered. Some feelings which are not so acknowledged. Something we're trying to heal, trying to let go. But what is the method to it? And somewhere that reflects on the being, I the soul. So today we're fortunate to have our dear sister Gopi, all the way from London, sharing beautiful insights about how to heal the heart and soul. Sister Gopi has been practicing this for past 30 years. And the beautiful quality about her is that she embodies what she speaks. And she has this magical power of making the soul realize and recognize the importance of self-transformation. So let's welcome her with one hand. And now we'll give it to her and enjoy. Om Shanti.
Good evening. And for those who are not familiar with the term Om Shanti, Om means I am, the being inside, the soul, and Shanti means peace. And it's a beautiful greeting that we use to remind ourselves of our spiritual origins. When I was reflecting on this subject earlier, I got taken into many stories. And I thought maybe we will turn this evening's talk into a storytelling session. Is that okay with you? Because I find that some of the most powerful learnings and examples of healing and growth happen through our own personal stories and the stories of people that we live with and work with. And this is real life. Right? There's one aspect of theory. You'll take a course outside and they'll say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then the rubber hits the road in life. And suddenly there's an obstacle in the way, a storm comes, and all your steps go out of the window. Right? And the place I want to begin with is the place of trust and faith. When faith is strong inside, you feel you can handle anything. Right? When your faith in yourself, your faith in the movement of the dynamics of the world, in the divine, in each other, is weak and there are doubts, that's when you feel, I'm not sure. And the moment you feel, I'm not sure, your capacity to handle something starts to diminish. Yeah, it's like you're in a boat that's shaking. Oh, it might sink any minute. But we have this very beautiful expression in the East. The boat of truth may rock, but it will never sink. And if being true to yourself, to your conscience, to your heart, to God, to life, is a practice and a principle you hold to, then guess what? The boatman, the eternal companion, is always with you. Your boat will be guided to its destination. And I have experienced that faith has to accompany truth. Because when we reach into what is true about ourselves, the reality of who we are, the reality of what's going on, the reality of our relationship with a higher power, we can restore faith again, the power of faith again. And I think that's what people are looking for. Because when faith gets rocked and disturbed and you don't understand what is happening and why it's happening, that's when anger, frustration, disheartenment, all of those dynamics begin. And these are times in which things are getting more chaotic, things are getting more uncertain. It is not a time to lose faith. It is a time to turn up the light of faith. It is a time to shine even brighter so that humanity can be served. And I guess as I was sitting reflecting on these stories, the first one that came to mind was a colleague, a friend, who happens to be the national coordinator of the Brahma Kumaris in Canada. And he was telling me his story that his mother died when he was 14 years old. And of course, his mother had separated from his father, so his father wasn't around. And him and his sister became orphaned at the age of 14, right? It was literally like that. They were alone. And within a few weeks, his grandmother, his primary caregiver, also died. And he remembers going to the local priest in the church and being very angry as a young boy and saying to the priest, "Tell God to ask permission next time before he takes a young boy's mother away." And then for 7 years, he became an atheist, right? He said, "I didn't want to know anything about God because he took my mother away." And after 7 years, he took a U-turn and returned back onto a journey through Buddhism, and he got connected with the Bhagavad Gita through the Hare Krishna movement, and that started to open up his faith in the divine again. And through that whole journey, he had gone on holiday somewhere. And maybe he was sitting by a big riverside, and apparently you could spot whales in this particular part of, not river, maybe the ocean. I don't know whether it was a river or an ocean, I can't remember, sorry. But anyway, the point was, you could see whales. And what happened, he was sitting with one of his friends on the embankment, and this whale showed up. And it came right up to where they both were. It raised its head out of the water and looked directly into his eyes. And in that moment, either it's a divine messaging, he said, it was as if somebody was telling me, don't worry, the DNA of a perfect world is right there. Don't worry about the chaos. Nothing can destroy this DNA. The perfection of humankind, mankind, is still there. And in that moment, it was like a very surreal transmission. His anger disappeared. You know, the anger that comes from disheartenment, frustration, helplessness, that why are things the way they are? Why can't I do something about it? But it was almost like that message was saying, but actually the DNA is intact. It is possible. It is going to happen, and it cannot be destroyed. And it was from that point on, he experienced a restoration of faith. Faith in the future, faith in the possibility of what could happen. And when faith is restored, healing can begin. You can't heal if you don't have faith. And so at a very deep level, as we examine this subject of faith, the faith in the self. And the amazing thing is, each and every soul sitting here, each and every human being, was born into this world in complete trust and faith. You were born like that. You don't remember, but you were born like that. Have you ever known a little baby to be born with a doubt? Have you known a little baby to have a doubt? Yeah? No? I'm so little. Who's going to look after me? I don't have a PhD. How am I going to get a job? Who's going to feed me? This little baby enters this world in a fabric of faith and trust. It knows it'll be looked after. And that's why it's the master of the house. That's why it can crawl into a room, it can get on top of anybody's lap, and it can command love from you through your eyes. Yeah? And you won't mind. You'll go gaga over a baby. I mean, that's how powerful a baby is. If one was to crawl in right here, I have no chance, right? It would just command the attention of the whole room. What is that? That is the energy of purity, your original self that is so pure, so sweet, so good, and rests in the fabric of eternal faith. It's got nothing to do with your body, your position, your job, your economics, your financial status, how many people you know. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you as a being, the soul. And you were born in that state. And then what happened? You went to school. And what happened at school? Somebody told you, well, you're a boy and you're a girl. And you looked at yourself and go, okay, so I can't play with them now? And then somebody else told you, well, you come from this place, so you have to behave like this. You have to follow this. You have to speak like this. You have to think like this. Label after label after label. And every label that got put on suddenly put you on shaky ground. That little baby that absolutely knew itself and could inspire love in a relationship got forgotten. That awareness of your true self got forgotten. And you started to become self-conscious about your human dynamics. Oh, is that what I am? Oh, is this what I should look like? And then suddenly you turn from this little master of the house into a completely insecure teenager that's looking around, trying to fit in, wondering what people think of you, trying to make friends, and completely losing that sense of trust and faith. And then, of course, more imaging and education. If you want success, you got to do this. If you want to be like this, you got to do this. And all that stuff gets layered on. And you dutifully follow until you wake up one day and you feel, what happened to me? Why am I not happy? Why don't I feel content inside? And then you start looking again. You go to this shopping center. The spiritual shopping market is big. Huh? You go here, try this out, feels good, doesn't hit the spot. You'll go here, this feels good, doesn't hit the spot. And you may spend a lot of money doing that, right? And what are you trying to do? You're trying to find yourself again. You're trying to restore that sense of faith again. You want to come home to yourself again. And that's one of the beauties of this meditation practice here. It is a practice of coming home to yourself. And that's the first faith. Come home. Drop, step away from the stories, step away from the masks, step away from the memories, step away from the to-do lists, and just enter a sanctuary of peace and tranquility and love, that space that exists inside each of us. And that's when you can start breathing again, right? Living again. You know, I often say, this life, it's non-negotiable. You have to meditate now. Just like you eat and drink and live healthy, eat healthy to survive, your mind needs the nourishment of coming home to peace inside. And that has to be made a routine. Yeah. Science tells us when you wake up in the morning, the first 10 minutes of your day, whatever you think and feel sets the mood for the whole day. Yeah, science is now backing this with evidence. How do you start your morning? Pick up your mobile phone, plug your brain and mind into 1,000 social feeds, TikTok, Facebook, emails, and you've just handed over your awareness, your attention, your precious self to a machine. When actually that's the time when you need to reconnect. Reconnect with yourself, reconnect with the divine. Whether you believe in the divine or the supreme, it's irrelevant. Because that being is not a belief. You know, I walk into this room now and I see most of you for the first time, right? So I'm experiencing you through my eyes and ears and my senses. It didn't mean you didn't exist just because I didn't see you before. You understand? Belief is a very transient experience because it's an experience through your senses, and that's very fickle. It'll change. When you have a new experience, a new belief gets created. So the Supreme is not a belief. It is an eternal entity that has always held you in trust and faith, has supported the transition of the soul from one journey to another. Whether you're aware of it or not. And that's the fabric of trust we have to rest in. When we step inside and we come home to ourselves, we step into a dimension of understanding, I belong. Whatever I am, however I am, I belong. I belong to that one. And that's an eternal belonging. You know, people will come into your life like a season. Some will come, some will stay, some will go. Yeah, at the human level, the journey is seasonal. Don't make a season into a lifetime, because it's not. Right? So really important, this foundation of faith. Go back and strengthen that foundation. That's where the light begins. That's where the healing begins. Now, within this very beautiful entity that I am, the spiritual entity that I am, there are certain functions. I have the ability to think. That's in my hands. I have the ability to choose. I have the ability to act on the basis of my decisions. These are spiritual functions. Maybe they get applied in a wrong way, or these functions get wasted, which is why I lose my mind power. I lose my discernment. It doesn't work for me because those functions are diseased. Just like organs in your body, right? Fatty liver, when you've had too much fats. Wastage, right? Heart blockage. So it's the same way inside the soul. Our inner function, our mind, our intellect, our ability to act, we have imprints, tendencies inside us, positive and negative. And depending on how well we look after ourselves and what we give attention to, they either flourish or they diminish. And it's these functions that are your greatest helpers in the journey of healing. I'm going to take up the subject of trauma. And I'll share a story about that first, because I have been, in the last perhaps 6 months, this word has been coming up a lot on my travels. And I understand that these are difficult experiences imprinted in the soul, and perhaps they don't allow the soul to move on, or the feeling like you try to move forward, but you're rubber banded and you get snapped back, right? There was a contact of ours. She was based in Alaska. She was a nurse. And we don't have a center, a meditation center in Alaska, but she was the only one. And she's a very fit lady, very active lady. And one day she was coming out of her house and she put her keys in the car and she was opening the car door. And as she opened the car door, somebody must have come behind her and stabbed her 7 times in this area here. Of course, the next thing you know, she wakes up in hospital, paralyzed from neck down. She was telling us this story because she visited us in Oxford, at our center in Oxford, many years ago, and she was carrying a walking stick. And I said to her, "What's happened? Why have you got a walking stick?" And she told us the story. And of course, for the first 2 weeks, it was like sheer shock, like numbness. It's like one moment you're this mobile, active person, and the next moment you can't move a thing. And she was very lucky because, her spinal cord came like millimeters close to being completely severed, which it wasn't. So she was lucky. But it was a very difficult period, those first few weeks, as she encountered the shock of that trauma. And shortly after that, even though she's a meditator, she had to deal with the anger. Why would somebody do this? The why question, right? And it was very interesting at that time. Of course, they wouldn't start physio till a bit later, until, she was ready. But they brought a counselor to her. Because I asked her, I said, "What helped you come through this?" And she said there were 2 things that helped her. First, they brought a counselor to her, and this counselor sat with her and said to her, "Remember somebody you feel safe with." And she's been a long-term meditator with the Brahma Kumaris, and she felt very safe with this person behind me. She'd had a vision of him in one of her meditations, and she had such a feeling of light, as if an angel had approached her in her early days. And so she decided to bring his presence into her mind. And then what the counselor would do is he would tell her to go and visit the scene again, right? With this person, not alone. The counselor was there. It was a place of safety, a feeling of safety was created. And at first, she just couldn't do it. She just couldn't move. She just couldn't go there. The counselor came back every day at the same time. We try again. We try again. Until after another couple of weeks, she could take this friend, feel safe, and go to that scene again. And of course, it was nauseating because all the emotions associated with that scene erupted again. Okay? That's what shock does, right? It just seals trauma into the parasympathetic nervous system. So the counselor just kept saying to her, repeat it again and again and again, until she reached a point where she could visit that scene and have no emotion left. It was like the fear diminished, the shock diminished, the anger diminished, everything diminished. And it was at that point that physiotherapy started to work. Because sometimes in our system, emotion holds everything in place. And you try hard and you want to try hard, but you can't. And I felt this was so powerful, that when things are difficult for us, yes, we have to face them. That you can't just be an ostrich. You know what ostriches do? When trouble comes, they dig a hole in the sand and they stick their head in it. As if nothing's happened. Yeah, we can't be ostriches in our life. So, there will be things that we have to face, but I found this such a beautiful methodology that you can do everything with the power of your mind. Invoke somebody you feel safe with, take that person there. Let them be a witness to what's happening. And somehow the beautiful benevolence of their safe companionship, their loving vision, helps finish the emotion, the reaction. And then I said, what was the second thing that helped you? So the physio started and the muscles started to respond. And the doctors were like this, we're not sure if you're going to be able to walk again. But up until the counseling finished, she wasn't even sure herself. It's like there was nothing inside her that was coming up to say, I can do this. But the moment the emotion cleared, the faith kicked in. I can do this. She started to see the light. And it's amazing. The moment the faith kicked in, guess what the universe sent to her? He was the chief of a local Indian tribe in that region. And he'd heard about her story. So he came to meet her in hospital. And he brought a little notebook and a pen. And he said, here, I want you to write 10 things you appreciate about yourself and your life every evening in this notebook. And I'm going to come and visit you every Sunday to get a report. She started. She could do 2 or 3 first day. It was difficult, but she made the effort to rise up to 10. And true to his word, he would come every week. And as she started to appreciate her life, her attitude towards things started to change. It was like the cells in her body started to expand and they could assimilate the treatment that was coming. Things were working. Her thoughts could suddenly move certain muscles in her body. Right? Because she completely lifted out of victim mode into gift mode. There is a hidden gift in this. What do I appreciate about myself and about my life? And as she expanded her awareness in appreciation, the healing began. The healing of her heart, the healing of her body, where finally she could take the first few steps. And then it was like determination kicked in. This is going to happen. And now she walks with a walking stick. So there's many beautiful lessons to learn in this, right? These are small practices, but they have profound impacts on your conscious mind. Because when there's a trauma, the trauma gets imprinted into your subconscious. Okay? And if it's a trauma in this birth, the memory will surface in your conscious mind. But if that memory surfaces in your conscious mind, how are you going to handle it? Are you going to keep analyzing it? Make a story about why it's happened, what it's there? Because that's just a coping mechanism. But real healing is invoking somebody you feel safe with, creating a sense of benevolence in your conscious mind. You have to keep your conscious mind feeling pleasant. That's really important in healing. It doesn't matter what's going on below the surface. If your conscious mind is strong, it's linked directly to the senses in your body. You can keep moving forward. Don't let your conscious mind start exploring Pandora's box. Why and what and how long will this be and what? You will absolutely halt the healing process. So one of the factors is facing the memory as it comes up, finishing the reaction and the emotion linked to that memory. And the second thing is you have to start a practice that expands your awareness. Either through meditation, through journaling, through appreciation. It has to be a conscious practice. So that it starts to make your conscious mind strong. And when there are good feelings in your conscious mind, you can stay above board. Yeah, all this stuff will start to merge. Because we have a law in spirituality. Wherever attention goes, energy flows. So if you keep giving attention to something that is old, you're literally draining your own energy away. So it's really important to look after your mind and keep it strong and keep the feelings in your mind pleasant. It's okay. It's okay. Everything is okay. I can still breathe. I can still speak. I can still see. Let me be grateful for what I still have. And let me use the power of that and the blessings and the love of everybody in my life to expand. That's what it takes to strengthen the conscious mind, changing your perspective. Now I want to take the subject of habits. We all have certain habits, right, that create a sense of sabotage. Yeah? You kind of move forward and then suddenly self-sabotage and a habit kicks in. Right? Habits are deeply linked to belief systems. You may have, for example, had a bad time at school, been bullied. And then to relieve yourself of the distress and the anger that came from being bullied, you decided to start smoking or drinking. And that was like a relief. But it's like a cathartic release. It doesn't change anything, right? Dependency on any substance disempowers you. It does not change your circumstance. But you associated distress and anger with smoking a cigarette for relief. So it's a belief. So in order for us to change habits, we have to work with our intellects. We have to sever the connection between anger and pain of what's happening to me and this object that I think will relieve me from it. Right? So it does involve asking yourself the question, why am I doing this? What benefit is there in this for me? Going deep into this connection between the belief, the memory, and whatever the dependency is. Is there another way I can do this? You have to start activating your intellect. When your intellect starts to understand, this is not beneficial for me anymore, then you have the hope of changing a habit. Because then your mind will follow. You have to partner with your mind, which means you have to create a new habit. Old habits only get surpassed by new ones. Because there's an element of a misbelief and an experience, right? A sensory experience, the mind. Mind and intellect have partnered. So you need to activate the intellect, dig deep, face yourself, ask yourself some hard questions, have a conversation with yourself, and then you need to create a new habit that will give your mind a new experience. And that's all you need to do. You need to just create new habits. And the beautiful thing about new habits, in order to create a new habit, in Japan, I was sharing this with a few people the other day. They have a practice and a name for continuous self-improvement. It's called Kaizen. And the principle behind Kaizen is very simple. Whatever you want to change, if you want to improve something in yourself, what is that practice that you want to build into your life, the new habit that you want to practice? Fix a time for it and practice it for 1 or 2 minutes at the same time every day. Really simple. It's not massive big changes, strategy changes. It's micro. You have to start small. What is the thing I can do to feel good every day? 1 or 2 minutes, and fix that time and do it at that same time every day. And when you do that, eventually your physiology, your mental system, your emotional system starts to regulate around that. It's like eating. You eat at a certain time in the morning, you have breakfast, you have lunch, you have dinner. Your system is regulated to that, right? It's a routine. And that's what helps you to manage your physiology. We don't live life eating when we want, sleeping when we want. It doesn't work like that. You'd be messed up by now if you did that. So it's the same with improving your inner self. You have to take a practice and you have to fix a time every day to just practice it for 1 or 2 minutes. It could be as simple as, I'm going to take this 1 minute to generate a pure thought for someone in my life. I'm going to take this 1 or 2 minutes to generate a pure thought for myself. Whatever it is, create a habit, make it a habit. And as you start creating new habits like this, guess what? You'll just spiral out of energy draining habits. Because you're generating a different orbit, right? A new cycle of energy. We've got some bad habits. And I'm not just talking about, the gross habits of becoming dependent on substances. That's like way down the line. The first habit we have is the habit of being a victim of circumstances, considering ourselves to be victims. That's a bad habit. Every single individual in this room has the power to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances. And the moment you indulge the habit of being a victim, you lose the power to make a choice. When you make the choice, you're in control. Do you agree? Yeah. I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm going to invite you into something really quickly. I would just like you to stand up and sit down 3 times. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to sit up straight, both feet on the floor, and we're going to go into a little meditation. And in the first instance, I'd like you to take a deep breath, hold it, and as you release that breath slowly, just release any tension you may be holding in the body. So breathe in, hold, and breathe out slowly. Breathe in again, hold, and breathe out slowly. And now let your breathing settle into a gentle rhythm. And with each breath you take in and release, bring your attention into this moment now. Be present fully in this moment now. And now turn your attention inwards and just step away from the self-image of this body. Step away from the masks, the roles, the to-do lists. And just visualize all that subtle energy inside being concentrated into an essence of light, a star of light. And you step away from everything, the memories, the job, the people, and you enter this light. And you enter a sanctuary of silence inside. You are something much bigger and more unlimited than this human costume. And as you feel your energy inside, and you allow it to concentrate into a being of light behind these eyes, you let yourself become that light. And slowly in your mind, repeat this thought 3 times in your mind. I, the inner being, am a star of light and peace. the inner being, am a star of light and peace. I, the inner being, am a star of light and peace. And feel yourself seated behind these eyes. You are inside and everything else is outside. And now, generate this thought. I, the inner being, the soul, choose to stand up, and I, the inner being, choose to sit down, and then sit down. And so now I'd like you to stand up and sit down 3 times again. But in between each action, you are generating that choice. I, the soul, choose to stand up, and I, the soul, choose to sit down. Thank you. Did you notice a difference between the first time you did it and the second time you did it? What was the difference? You'll have to shout it out so I can hear you. Sorry? The second time it was more patient and more calm? Yep. You chose to do it the second time. So how did that make you feel? Sorry? Better. Yeah, the first time it's like, why is she asking us to stand up and sit down? I don't want to do it. It felt like an effort the first time. Right, and the second time? So what did that feel like? Relaxed. Yeah, okay, good. Peaceful. Anyone else? It was conscious. You're more in control. You know, it was interesting to watch you because there was much more grace in the room and softness. Yes, at the back. Sorry? Consciousness of being a master. Yeah, I'm in control. I'm in charge of this, right? Yeah, yes. I'm the master ordering the body to stand. Did it feel like an effort? No. This is how thought power controls your senses. Did you feel lighter the second time you did it? Yeah? Do you see the difference? I call this a spiritual chiropractic adjustment. Yes.
First time I thought that I didn't even have the option to sit down. So the second time I thought maybe if I wanted to stand up, then I would stand up. If I want to sit down, I would stand up. I was not just listening to you or looking at anybody else. It's just me wanting to stand up.
Right.
First time it was someone forcing me.
First time it was somebody forcing you to do something. How many have experienced that in their lives? Exactly. Second time you felt thoughtless. That's interesting. Wow. The first time you were tired. And the second time? You weren't tired. Amazing. Like, this chiropractic adjustment is good, eh? You need to come here more often, right? Forget the health centers now. Come here and get adjusted. I mean, it's incredible. Look at this. Let's take this as an analogy in our day-to-day lives, right? When we are not centered and we don't make that effort to concentrate our energies and sit ourselves in our seat, then you are off center. And when you are off center, you have to work harder. If you've ever been to a chiropractor, they'll tell you, if your spine's off, it's like your body's balance is affected and one side of your body takes the load. You physically have to expend more energy, right? To walk, to move, because you're out of balance. And then it's like, because you're not in your seat as a master, you're a victim. Why is she telling me to do that? Well, I don't want to do that, but I have to. And what are you creating when you're thinking like that? You're creating your own burden. And then you project it out and say, see, I told you so, it's her fault. She told me to do that. Is it? Is it the fault of the person saying something? No. It has an impact because you're off center. You're having a reaction because you're not centered and you haven't made a choice. When you make a choice about something, you own it. Nobody owns you. And blame is out of the question. Completely out of the question. On a spiritual journey, you have to eliminate blame because that does not allow healing. In fact, it creates more trauma because you're constantly in a reactive state. Now, you know, this whole analogy of sitting on your seat and operating like a master, it's like you have to retrain yourself with everything, with eating, with speaking. I choose to speak now. I choose not to speak. With walking, with moving. You have to exercise the capacity of that master. If you don't exercise the capacity of that master and you don't do things on the basis of your own choice, you do not feel empowered. It's the bottom line. You feel like someone's got a noose around your neck and is dragging you into something. And that's simply because you haven't pulled yourself together and made the choice. So you've just experienced a first-hand demonstration of that, right? You know, when we think of a judge in a court of law. He comes into the courtroom, he goes and puts on his robes, he goes and sits in his seat, has his hammer, and when he bangs the hammer and passes judgment, it becomes law, right? The whole legal machinery kicks in to execute that law, right? But if that same judge, same knowledge, same experience is at home, having a cup of tea with his wife in the garden and making a judgment, do you think it's going to work? I don't think so. The legal system will say, well, you're not on your seat. You're not in the place you should be. So nobody's going to listen to you. And that's what happens to us all the time, right? Our minds and our intellects are all over the place. Mind is doing something, intellect is doing something, heart is doing something else. We're just fragmented inside, and then we're wondering why things don't work for us. Nobody's listening to us. I had a friend, and she would always have this song, nobody loves me, nobody listens to me. And I said to her, where are you when you're saying this? Right? Because you're not on your seat. Get on your seat. And the moment you get on your seat, Just one thought activates every function. Your power returns. You reclaim your power when you're seated on your seat. So, it's 7:40. Now, if you let me, you might end up staying here all night, right? So I just perhaps want to pause there, Maitri, and maybe see if there's any reflections or any questions that you have that you'd like to ask or explore. And we have a little hand mic, yeah? Because it would just be helpful if people can hear your question.
Om Shanti. So, do we have any questions, any reflections anyone would like to share? You can raise your hand and we can bring the mic to you. I think everyone is healed.
No. They're shy. Yes.
Om Shanti. I'll share an experience like you share.
Can you put the mic closer?
Is it better?
Yeah.
So I'll share an experience like you mentioned that practice micro things at the same time every day. So I spoke to Suraj Bhai a few years ago in Madhuban. So he mentioned to me that if you want to do few things in your life, meditate, sit with Baba at the fixed time every day for 21 days. So recently I lost the job. It's been like 6 months now. But somehow I had this faith that whatever is happening is for my own good. So there was a situation at home, I went back, everything sorted, I came back, I'm looking for a job. But in all this process, I'm not stressed. I have faith in Baba, faith in Rama, that everything, whatever is happening right now is for my good. And I have been experiencing so many good things in meditation, which I never experienced before. And I'm doing that half an hour every day. And I have a fixed time and I set an intention for that thing, that what I'm doing. And unless I experience it, I don't leave that. So this is my experience I wanted to share with everyone.
Thank you.
Shanti.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No one? Yes, brother.
Om Shanti. You talked about tapping or increasing the capacity of that master. So anything you can expand a little bit more on how do we go about? We just did one exercise and I can feel that there is, like, I think 5% has increased. How do we go about, maintaining that 100% and how do we tap into the full capacity of that master?
It's called practice, practice, practice. There's no shortcut, right? I mean, immediately you got 5%. That's not bad, eh? 5 minutes, 5%, not bad. Another 5 minutes, another 5%, another 5%. It's a drip method, right? It's not about, kind of getting all there at once. It's about enjoying the experience of rehabilitating yourself again. Sometimes we have these habits with food, for example. Yeah? What are you eating for? Are you eating for your eyes? Are you eating for your tongue? Or are you eating for the benefit of your stomach? So we've developed bad habits around eating, right? We've got something that's 2 inches long that completely dictates our state of mind around food. And so in that moment, when you center yourself again, you as a master choose what you're going to put inside this body. You've just broken a habit. And then when you do it again and again and again, This thing doesn't control you. So it's more about practicing this in all different spheres of your life. You get my point? And it's like the slow method to move forward. I mean, there's just one last thing I want to share, because this is about, okay, we've talked about faith in the self, faith in the divine. What about faith in each other? Yeah. When I moved from Africa to the UK, I was supposed to start university to study law, and apparently the education system, so I had to be held back a year, etc. But where myself and my brother had enrolled in the college, we were the only two Asians in that college. I had never experienced discrimination in my life. I had no terminology for it. But some of the behavior I received, some of the things that were coming at us, it was just not polite. That's a mild form of putting it, okay? It was overt racism, overt discrimination. And at first, I mean, it was painful. It's like, hang on a second, I've just arrived. I don't know you. Why are you doing this to me? Right? There's this kind of indignation and kicks in. And I remember after a while in one of my morning meditations, just sitting, peacefully in the company of the divine, and it dawned on me, and there were 3 people that used to make our lives hell. I mean, literally go out of their way, to do many, many nasty things. And one morning, I remember having this feeling in the meditation, I don't understand what they're doing. I really don't. I don't have a word for it. It was probably good I didn't have a word for it. Because sometimes when you're too clever and label everything, you become a prison of your own labels, right? So just being an innocent, naive is very helpful. So I thought, well, if I don't understand what they're doing, then they can't understand what they're doing. And this is behavior that stems from pain. So they must have pain in their life. There must be something going on in their homes, something happening where they're not feeling happy. And it was, as that conversation happened, it was like spiritual empathy started to open. I started to see beyond the behavior to perhaps they're living in compromised circumstances. Something's not working for them. And so my attitude started to change, from a sense of injustice to like more spiritual empathy. These are behaviors of pain. You're not going to add to the pain by doing the same thing in return. Yeah, or by taking them to a court of law. It's not going to solve anything. And so what I decided to do was every day, between 6 o'clock in the morning and 6:30, in my morning meditation at the center, because the center was just 5 minutes from my house and 5 minutes from that college, so it was very handy. I would go and I would dedicate that half hour to sending good wishes. I just sat in the company of the Supreme. I just focused myself and I just said, let the love flow. Let them experience a good day. Whatever's going on in their life, let it be resolved. Like really pushing out good wishes and an intention of benevolence. And I used to experience so much love flowing through, because this is what God wants us to do. He doesn't want us to be enemies of each other. Every soul in this room is connected to the Supreme as a child. So if I'm complaining about one of his children, what's happening? The love stops. And I could just feel so much love being channeled through. Oh, those half-hour meditations were amazing. And guess what happened? A month and a half later, out of those 3 people, 1 left the college, and the other 2 turned around and became my best friends. And they still are today. It was amazing. And it was like nothing happened. was incredible. And I have witnessed in my own life the first-hand experience of the power of good wishes. You know, sometimes it's good not to be too clever, because you create your own prison with your own cleverness. And sometimes just being an innocent child of God and just knowing that there's a child in front of you that may be suffering as well, in a different way, and to spend that time to give good wishes, it's an act of charity. And it's something that has to be exercised. You know, we don't have the habit of giving good wishes. We have a habit of complaining. Why is that one like that? Why is that one doing that? All day long, right? We sound like cackling, you know. And so, you know, we just create the wrong sound. And you know, if you complain once, there'll be 10 complaints coming at you. It's a law of karma. So just know that certain habits are detrimental. Yes. Excuse me, could you take a mic, please? Thank you.
Whenever somebody sits on my mind, if I'm disturbed, I just tell them, God bless you, God bless you. After some time, they all vanishes. So I practice whenever I feel like somebody is disturbing me, I just keep telling them, God bless you, and they just vanishes from my brain.
Does it? It heals your brain?
Yeah.
Very good.
I've experienced this. When I sit among so many ladies and they gossip, and then at night when I come and sleep and somebody is chatting disturbs me, then I just tell her, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, and then she vanishes
There
from
you
my...
go. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, the young man in the middle there.
Om Shanti. I know you mentioned that, you know, the first 10 minutes of the day is very important. So I wanted to ask you if you could expand on that. Like, what in particular can we do in the first 10 minutes?
First of all, you need to put your mobile phone outside the room. Number one. Invest in a good alarm clock. No gadgets in that room. You have to keep that space sacred. Wherever you sleep, you have to make that a sacred space. No computers, no gadgets, no phones, nothing electrical that will exacerbate physical frequencies in that room. That's important, right? Second, the moment your eyes open, take yourself out of bed, put your feet on the floor, and just take a deep breath. You know how we were breathing earlier, and you could feel as you took a deep breath, you were becoming present? You're just landing. Your awareness is landing fresh into this world, right? And then from your heart, good morning to yourself, to God, to life. And then take a few moments to send good wishes. Okay? And then get up, brush your teeth, you know, move around your day, and then take some time, right, after you fresh yourself, had a glass of water or something to drink, to just read something beneficial or to do a meditation for 10 minutes. Yeah. So do what you can to create a pleasant experience in the first 20 minutes of your day.
Okay, thank you. Just a very quick follow-up question. What if, because I'm going to rent out a room, right? Because I go to university and I only live in that room, so I have to work in that room. Is that like an exception?
It's okay. I mean, of course, there are certain things you can't avoid, but just switch everything off at night.
Okay.
So nothing's left on.
Right. Okay.
Right? And put your mobile phone as far away from you as you can.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you.
Okay, that's important. Do not, first 20 minutes of your day, you cannot surrender your mind to Facebook or to your emails. Nope, no go. You have to have this practice. Center, breathe, become center, generate light. And you know what I've experienced? The more good wishes you have, and the more good wishes you generate, you create a red carpet in all your relationships. Imagine if somebody has sat and taken the time to generate good wishes for you. How will you feel about them when you meet them? You'll feel good, right? There'll be like a spontaneous meeting of, oh, I want to see that person. Oh, it's nice to see that person. Because those good wishes have reached ahead of you. The red carpet's rolled out. You just walk down it and meet that person with a lot of grace. But if you've had bad thoughts about that person, there's no red carpet there. And in fact, when you look at that person avoids you. Then you think, why are they avoiding me? And you don't realize where it started. You understand? That's why I'm saying exercise your good wishes. And coupled with waking up in the morning is how you go to bed at night. People are very careless how they sleep. You know what happens when you sleep? Everything you've accumulated in your short-term memory goes into your long-term memory. And whatever goes into your long-term memory whilst you're sleeping starts to affect the way you feel about yourself. So let's say, during the day you this and this and this and this, and then at night you thought, oh, I just want to get away from the day, let me watch a video. Right? What's that thing with all the dinosaurs? What's that movie with all the dinosaurs? Jurassic Park, right? And this thing's trying to eat this one's head off, and this thing's trying to eat this one's head off, and this one's running away from here, and it's like all these images are being bombarded in your mind after a long day, and then halfway through watching Jurassic Park you fall asleep. What's happening is all that data is going into your subconscious, and your subconscious is working overtime trying to sort it out. So you start to have bad dreams. You wake up in the morning and you feel like you haven't slept. And then you feel like a flat battery when you wake up. What do? Head out for the coffee. I need 2 coffees. Then I can feel vaguely normal. Right? And then if you don't pay attention again to your morning, and you give your power away, your mind away, you're absolutely invaded by influences that rule your life. You are not in charge of your life. So it is essential, half an hour before you go to bed, step away from everything. Our former administrative head, that lady, the second picture in, if you look at the back, she's kind of looking up, Daddy Prakashmani, right? She's the second picture in. And she's got this smile on her face and she's looking up. She was my spiritual mother. And one time I asked Daddy, I said to her, Daddy, you're the head of such a big organization in 120 countries worldwide. So many people come to you with so many problems. How do you stay so light? And she gave such a beautiful answer. She said, look, life is like a play, right? So today, Daddy thinks Act 1, Scene 1, finished. Tomorrow we'll shoot Act 2, Scene 2. Right? Really simple. Yeah? Nobody ever shoots a whole film in one day. So, relax. Tomorrow Act 2, Scene 2 begins. And then she says, when souls come in front of me with all their problems, at night before I go to bed, I just upload the whole thing to him up above and I say, they're your kids, sort them out. And she says, I go to sleep so light. And then the next morning in my meditation, perhaps something will get downloaded. Do this, do that. But I don't carry things into bed. Okay. Good. Well, thank you so much for being such a willing audience and participating in these activities that this sister makes you do. And I really, really hope that you're able to start tweaking and making these adjustments in your lifestyle to sustain pleasantness, well-being, especially in your conscious mind, because that's where the game is. Okay? So thank you very much. Shall we have a few moments, yeah, to finish with just a few moments in meditation, and then you can make announcements. Is that okay? All right, okay. So sit up straight, because when you meditate, a straight spine is important. It allows oxygen to flow through. And again, take a few deep breaths. Breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. Breathe in again, hold it, and breathe out. And again. And with each and every breath, bring yourself into this moment now. And I want you to take your right hand and put it over your heart. And I just want you to feel your heartbeat. It's such a precious heart, such a good heart. And the beautiful being inside that is good, that is pure. And be that light for a moment inside. And let that light reach your heart and fill your heart. And now, generate a good wish for yourself. Holding the precious heart, generate a good wish for yourself. And now, generate a good wish for the people in your life. And now, generate a good wish for the world. Thank you. Om Shanti.